Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:04 p.m. This is the Recycled Water Committee of Monterey One Water. We're here in the boardroom at 5 Harris Court, Building D in Monterey, California. Committee member Tyler Williamson and chair will participate via teleconference from the Hayes Mansion, 200 Edenvale Avenue, San Jose, California. It is Thursday, July 17th, 2025, 3 p.m. And we'll do a roll call of the members.
Pacific Grove,
Here.
Veranda,
Here.
Castroville,
Here.
Marina Coast,
Here.
Monterey.
Here, and I'll just share for the record, I'm here on city business, but I don't have anybody in the room under the age of 18. There's nobody in the room to speak for public comment either. So
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair Williamson. We'll move on to item 3, additions to the agenda. Mr. Shuto, do you have any additions to today's agenda?
No additions.
Okay, and so I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move. Second.
Motion by Moore, second by Habino. Any further discussion? And if not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Aye.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast,
Yes.
Monterey.
yes,
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 5. This is general public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to the committee on matters not appearing on the agenda may do so now. Is there anyone online that wishing to speak on general public comment? Seeing none, there's no non-staff members in the audience that I can see. Therefore, I'll close general public comment and move on to item 6, business items. First item is 6A, consider approval of our minutes from the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Habino, second by Moore, to approve the minutes or receive them. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Aye.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast,
Yes.
Monterey.
yes,
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 6B. And this is, I'll recognize Mr. Shuto for item 6B.
Thank you, Chair Smith. So this item is specific to the Salinas Valley Basin GSA Advisory Committee. And certainly Director Stefani can chime in here because you probably know a lot more about this than I do. The GSA was formed in 2017. Monterey One Water has been involved since that time, sometimes as an alternate to the board, certainly on a number of the committees and commenting on the plans. Currently, I think the only formal involvement we have is Allison Imamura is on a committee and sits in on a few of the meetings. The SVB GSA is changing the structure for their advisory committee, and that will go into effect in September. The changes are there are a number of advisory committee members in different areas, so more geographic areas by the basins, but there's also 4 public entity seats. Of those 4, Monterey One has been designated a seat on the advisory committee. What this item is for, to move to the board, is for me to be a member of that advisory committee. In total, depending on how many other of the sub-basins will be included, there's between 11 to 13 people on the advisory committee. And looking through the criteria of they're looking for members, the only thing I really have is invite, humor, and goodwill. So I'll take care of that one. I'm sure other people have the rest. The involvement at this point is about 6 meetings per year. There may be some subcommittee meetings here and there, but I have talked to the GM, Perrette Harmon, who assures me that the involvement isn't too extensive as it is with some of the board members. So with that, I can certainly answer any questions, or Ron, if you have anything to add.
Trying to get the advisory committee to give good advice to the board, considering seawater intrusion and the lowering of water levels, consistent with all of us across the coast here.
So Director Stefani, are you saying that the prior advisory committee has been giving bad advice to the board? Just wondering.
No,
No, okay.
no, the prior advisory committee was really made up to develop the plan, and now we're implementing. And so as we talk about implementation, costs come up, and Paul could sit right there and off the top of his head come up with, yeah, advanced treatment cost $500 million, and an injection well costs $10 to $12 million. That's the kind of information, those questions come up rapidly in there, and sometimes you can just shut a subject down by when you start talking about $500 million.
Right, right.
Member Urbina?
I just want to say, yeah, thank you for taking that post. And I think it's going to be good for working with, people that we will possibly be collaborating with in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move approval.
Oh, great. Have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Second by Urbina. And I'll take it out to the public online to see if anyone wishes to comment on this item. Great. Seeing none, bring it back on for a vote on the motion on the floor for a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Yes.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville.
Yes,
Marina Coast.
Yes,
Monterey.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, great. And so move on to, and thank you, Mr. Shuda, for taking on more responsibility. I'm sure I have all the faith in the world. You'll handle it. You'll do a great job. Let's see, when I'm going to recognize Olivia Woolery for items 6C.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Smith and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Woolery, the laboratory supervisor at Monterey One Water. Monterey One Water is required to participate in long-term regional ambient monitoring to comply with our National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES, permit. The Central Coast Long-Term Environmental Assessment Network, also called CCLEAN, is designed to fulfill receiving water monitoring requirements, as well as support regulatory objectives for the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary and the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. Monterey One Water has been a participant in the CCLEAN program since its inception in 2001. CCLEAN is comprised of several regional dischargers, which are represented by a steering committee to provide technical oversight. Cost allocation for CCLEAN is a flat fee with an added contribution based on the 5-year average discharge proportionate to the other dischargers. Monterey One Water's annual contribution for fiscal year 2025-2026 is calculated to be $171,739. Department 25 will be invoiced quarterly in the amount of $42,934.75. Staff requests that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board approve the CCLEAN budget for fiscal year 25-26 in the not to exceed amount of $171,000 or $171,739. Any questions?
Oh, thank you very much for the report. Welcome to the meeting. And we haven't seen you in here before, so welcome. Any committee member questions? Mr. Moore, Dr. Moore.
so CCLEAN does that money pay for some laboratory work
Yes.
and examination of things? How different are the things it looks for than what your lab here normally looks for?
Right. So one thing is examination of contaminants of emerging concerns and other priority organic pollutants that aren't required for monitoring in our NPDES permit.
And are any of the constituents that CCLEAN monitors for constituents that our lab routinely does?
Some of them are. However, they also sample more frequently at our receiving water locations. They also look at river outfalls into the ocean. And so it's a more, I would say, comprehensive view of what's being discharged into the Monterey Bay.
It's,
They're doing it like at discharge points for all of the contributors. They're doing some offshore sites. They're doing sort of I wouldn't say a total scatter plot, but throughout the areas to get a comprehensive look at what's being discharged in the bay as a whole. So there's two things. Sampling is different than what you guys do, and then some of the constituents are different. Is overlap, certainly, in terms of a overlapping Venn diagram.
But,
The steering committee meetings are held monthly.
and I assume C-Clean doesn't have its own laboratory facility, that they contract out that work.
They use Kinetic Environmental for their laboratory services.
Hey, the reason I'm asking these questions, I was just wondering if there would be any benefit in our lab doing some of that lab work, essentially earning back some of that money we pay them.
I would say no.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further committee member questions? Take it out to the public, just check online, see if anyone would like to comment on item 6C, C-Clean. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee for action.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, Stefani, motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Habino. Further discussion? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Yes.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Monterey.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Ms. Woolley. Appreciate it. It's kind of a long item. Okay. 6D, we're 6D. Consider recommending award of construction contract to Specialty Construction. And who's up? Jennifer Gonzalez. Got it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith and members of the committee. Jennifer Gonzalez, the CIP manager. Our existing, actually, Chai, do you have the slides? Thank you. Got some pictures of what we're planning to do here. Okay, go ahead to the next slide, please. Thank you. Our existing fire suppression system was constructed in 1997, consists of 2 steel fire storage tanks, shown in the bottom left photo there, a fire pump house, and a well water tank. The well water tank is the green plastic tank there. The steel storage tanks were taken out of service in 2020 due to massive corrosion. You can see in the top right photo there, that's the top of one of the tanks. They've been basically corroded through over the time that we've had them in service. This fire suppression system actually works to keep basically just the admin building at our facility with fire water. At present, a portable rental fire tank is serving instead of those corroded tanks. So we have a tank sitting out in the roadway there near the tanks that's temporarily hooked up to the fire pump system. Cypress Engineering Group completed the design to replace and relocate the system, and we'll be relocating it up the hill near the SVRP area. The project was advertised for bid on June 3rd of this year. A mandatory pre-bid meeting was held on June 11th and was attended by 8 potential bidders. Next slide, please. On July 1st, we opened bids and received 3 bids for the project. Specialty Construction provided the lowest bid of $951,000. The low bid is higher than anticipated. However, the 3 bids were within 8% of each other. So we believe that these are reasonable and responsible bids. The project was budgeted for $900,000 this fiscal year, and there was a carryover of $300,000 from last fiscal year. So we have a shortfall of about $751,000, which we are recommending supplementing from the reserves. So staff requests that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board approve a construction contract to Specialty Construction for the CP 346 fire pump house, fire storage tanks, and well water tank project in the amount of $1,951,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gonzalez. Committee member questions, Dr. Moore?
So I applaud you for getting this done. Is it correct that we have methane on site?
It is.
How flammable is methane? And if some of our infrastructure out there at the treatment plant were to burn down, how bad would that be for our customers?
That would be very bad.
Very bad. Okay. So
Can I elaborate on that answer? The administration
Sure.
building that this fire protection system is meant to protect includes the entire control system for the both regional treatment plant, Salinas Valley Reclamation Project, and the advanced water
it'll
purification
be
facility.
pretty bad to lose that.
It is essentially the brain of the operation
Right,
down there.
right.
So very important to protect.
We
this.
don't want to go brainless.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I know there's been, at least I've heard some rumors of some possible staff level discussions about, well, let me ask this question. First off, what is the source of the water for the fire suppression system?
Currently, it's a well that's on site.
And so it could be a problem if something went wrong with the well or the well pump and a fire occurred.
Yes and no. Yes, if the well were to go out completely and the fire pumps didn't work, we would have a problem.
So I'm just wondering what thought may have been given to, this may sound self-serving, but connecting up to the closest potable water system.
So go ahead, Matt.
So we do have a capital project planned in the coming years that will include replacement of the existing water supply. We have yet to determine whether it would be most cost effective to replace the existing well in place or to look to one of our neighboring agencies such as Marina Coast Water District to provide that supply. There's still some additional work that needs to be done.
And I guess I was sort of thinking along the lines of maybe both, so that we would have redundancy given the criticality of our brain.
So another point to this is that we actually do have a backup to the system. We have what we consider our dry system. And if a fire were to break out, the secondary clarifiers that contain secondary treated water with 1 million gallons per clarifier, there's 6 of them on site. There is a hookup for fire suppression that a fire pump truck could hook into if needed. So,
But I might ask, what would be the post-fire implications of having used that contaminated water to put the fire out?
that's a good question. That water is, I don't know, discharged to the bay, so it's not
Right.
potable level, but it's not full of sewage at that point in time.
But I presume there would still need to be some form of decontamination of
Absolutely.
the surviving.
Yep.
Right,
Absolutely.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Vice Chair Rubino?
So I just have a question on that $750,000 increase. Was that because of the relocation and the pipeline that it would take?
Yeah, it's partly where we're placing it. The scope of the project has changed over time. We actually originally designed this project as a seismic retrofit project way back in 2015, and at the time we did not have the money to do it. But in the meantime, we now have an electrical project that is in progress, that is in the same location where the existing fire tanks are. So we're having to move basically all of the infrastructure to make way for this.
And will you gain more pressure by having it a little bit elevated?
Yes, and the pumps, the pump skid that we're using, there will be redundancy with that as well.
Good. Okay.
Thank you. And we'll check with the public online, see if anyone wishes to comment on item 6D. Seeing none, bring it back to the committee for further comments and action.
I'll move approval.
Second. Motion and a second. Further discussion? I'll just say that, it's important that given wildfires and the fire situation, obviously we want to have a strong fire suppression ability at our plant. So we'll ask for a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Yes.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Monterey.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 6E. And this, I will recognize Nathan Clark, Operations Supervisor.
Good afternoon, Chairman Smith, members of the committee. My name is Nathan Clark, Operations Supervisor for Monterey One Water. M1W uses a full service sulfide control program to protect assets from highly corrosive sulfides, as well as to protect employees from harmful fumes generated in the collection and treatment process. The program consists of supplying 3 7,800 tanks and pump skids, monitoring and reporting, providing maintenance service, and delivering the chemical. In 2023, the board approved the award of the chemical contract to USP Technologies in for a 1-year term, with the option to extend the 3 additional 1-year terms, with the increase based on the producer price index not to exceed 10%. On July 29th, 2024, the board approved the first 1-year amendment, or the first amendment, for a 3.8 increase. On May 22nd, 2025, staff offered USP Technologies the option to extend the contract for an additional 1 year with a 1.3% increase based on the producer price index, for a total of $2,466,000, $2,466,560.89. The program was included in the approved fiscal year 25-26 budget for $2.4 million. Staff request that the Recycle Water Committee recommend to the board a second amendment to USP Technologies for the full service sulfide control program and the not to exceed amount of $2,466,560.89. And be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Committee member questions on this item. Chair Moore, I'm sorry, Mr. Moore, Dr.
This
Moore.
is a bit of chemical curiosity, but they bring in hydrogen peroxide and ferric chloride. That gets somehow mixed with sulfide chemicals coming out of our process. What's the result of that? Is there something that has to be carted off to the landfill, or is there something that dissolves in effluent that goes to the ocean?
Dr. Moore, I'm glad you asked that question because I prepared for it. And
Ooh, this guy can tap dance.
the ferric chloride, when introduced to the sulfide produced, generates the ferric sulfide. Ferric sulfide, it's insoluble and it precipitates out generally in the primary clarifiers as a solid. I can go a little bit farther on that, but in general, there's a sulfide reducing bacteria in our collection system, which then generates the sulfides. And then when volatilized, it goes into hydrogen sulfide, which we're trying to prevent by capturing it as a sulfide.
So when you capture it, it ends up in the biosolids. And does it have any negative implications for future use of the biosolids?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question too, because again, I expected this from you. The biggest negative impact would be an increase in solids.
Okay, but not something harmful for reuse of the solids or potential reuse of the solids or disposal of the solids.
Correct. And as a matter of fact, it actually helps with other treatment processes. When it goes into an anaerobic digester, it helps to also keep the hydrogen sulfide down.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you very much and excellent preparation for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further committee member questions? Member Rubino?
Hi, Nathan. I just have a quick question. In terms of regulations, is there regulations in terms of dealing with these sulfides? Is there oversight by like Cal OSHA or whatnot?
The regulation is in our anaerobic digesters. When we exceed, I want to say 100 to 295 parts per million. Thank you, Jose. We do have to keep those sulfides below that in the digesters. However, keeping hydrogen sulfide down below 25 parts per million in the headworks also protects assets and also keeps our staff safe.
Great. But there's no one here that you have to, there's not an agency that you have to report to or issue reports to?
The Air Quality Control Board for the digester sulfide, hydrogen sulfide.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll briefly check with the public to see if everyone online would like to speak to 6E. And I will kind of bring it back to the board. I'll just ask, there's got to be like a best practices with this, this has to be going towards kind of a best practices, I would think, right? Is that in the plan?
So I can talk about processes all day long, and this is the best practice for Monterey One Water currently.
Okay. Okay.
And it's pretty typical throughout the industry.
Right.
There's other chemicals you can use, particularly in the collection system, but oftentimes it comes down to the impact on the treatment plant and then the biological process itself.
Mhm.
So what they've come up with here is that which will work for us, our length of collection system, the biological process, and so on. There were tests that were done in the 90s on what? Sodium hypochlorite directly into collection systems, which did a great job, but also damaged the biological treatment in many plants. So this has been an iterative process in the industry as different chemicals come out, and certainly the safety of those chemicals.
Got it. Okay.
And as a matter of fact, those systems to inject the hypochlorite were repurposed for the peroxide.
Okay. All right. So entertain a motion to approve here.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay. Motion and second. Any further comments, discussion on the item? Seeing none, go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Yes.
Baranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Monterey.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. On to item 6F, and I will invite Mr. Thompson, our Director of Engineering, to take it
All
away.
right. Good afternoon, committee members. I am Matt Thompson, your Director of Engineering. I'm pleased to present you with a major new initiative we call Solids Handling and Resource Recovery Improvements. We've been forming this project for many months and are now asking you to approve the first big action, which is to hire an engineering firm to begin design of the project for us. I've detailed the reasons why this project is needed and our vision for the improvements in my written report, but I would like to take a few minutes to illuminate that for you here. You can go directly to slide 2. Thank you, Chai. The performance of our regional wastewater treatment plant is highly dependent on the effectiveness of solids treatment and disposal. Our existing solids handling system is undersized, it's inefficient, it lacks redundancy, and requires a lot of land and labor. This exhibit shows how we currently handle the solids. The screw presses that we've been using for years to remove water from the solids are not very effective. The biosolids are dropped out of the screw presses and into a concrete holding bay. They're then scooped up with a front loader, loaded into dump trucks. Those dump trucks then spread the material throughout some open air sludge drying beds. Then it's mixed and dried for a long period of time. The material is then scooped up and hauled away, most of it to a composting facility in Kern County, 190 miles away. We have a compelling need to improve our solids handling system, to improve operational efficiency, and reduce the volume and weight of material that requires disposal. Next slide, please. Other changes are driving the need for improvements to our solids handling system. We will soon begin receiving tanker trucks of food waste for co-digestion in our anaerobic digesters. This will generate more biosolids and greatly increase nutrients going into the treatment plant. We are also in the planning stages of a major upgrade to our liquid treatment process. We will likely transition from trickling filters to a higher performance biological treatment process, which will greatly increase the volume of biosolids generated and increase the flow of nutrients through the solids handling system. We need to prepare for this by improving our solids handling system. We should also prepare for evolving regulations for fluorinated chemicals such as PFAS that are present in our biosolids. New technologies are available that are capable of destroying these chemicals and converting the biosolids into a valuable commodity. Next slide, please. We envision upgrading the solids handling system in two major phases. Phase one will likely include replacing the screw presses with modern equipment for dewatering and drying, with a goal of increasing the total solids content of the material to greater than 50%. This will greatly reduce the volume and weight of material that must be hauled off site for disposal in the near term, but also produce good feedstock for an advanced biosolids treatment process in the future. We would like to set up the phase one improvements so the dried material is delivered directly into truck trailers and hauled out of the plant for disposal. This will eliminate the quadruple handling of material I showed you earlier and free up some of the existing sludge drying beds area for other uses in the future. With improved dewatering and drying, there will be a large increase in the volume of the liquid that we remove from the solids, which we call pressate. This pressate will be full of nutrients. We don't want to simply recirculate these nutrients back into our treatment process because it may be harmful to our expensive equipment and disrupt the biological treatment process. We'd instead like to install a nutrient recovery system to remove nutrients from the pressate and convert it into commercial grade fertilizer. This fertilizer is a renewable source of phosphorus, which is valuable, and we'd like to partner with a private company to produce and market renewable struvite fertilizer to agriculture. Revenues from fertilizer sales may help to offset the cost of the nutrient recovery system. Can you click it once, please? All right, for the phase two improvements, we'd like to add an advanced process such as high temperature pyrolysis to destroy the fluorinated chemicals and other pollutants present in the biosolids and turn it into a valuable commodity such as biochar. There is a strong market for biochar in Central California for uses such as concrete manufacturing, environmental remediation, and soil amendment. We intend to set up the phase one improvements to facilitate easy addition of technology like this in phase two. Next slide, please. In March, we solicited proposals from professional engineering firms to prepare plans, specifications, and estimates for phase one. We received proposals from 3 engineering firms and invited 2 of them to interview. After interviews in May, the selection committee unanimously recommends Black & Veatch as the most qualified and best fit engineering firm for this project. Black & Veatch had presented a very well thought out plan for executing the project, including extending reliable electrical service to the new facility. Black & Veatch is also preparing our master plan for the regional treatment plant upgrade and they emphasized the benefits of coordinating this project with that effort. After selection, I negotiated with Black & Veatch to revise its scope of work and fee to best meet our needs. I requested the design effort be split into 2 phases. The first phase will include a process alternatives analysis and a 30% complete set of plans and specifications. The second phase will be preparation of the final design and bidding documents. Splitting the design in this way should help control and minimize design costs. I recommend our agency enter a professional services agreement with Black & Veatch for the first phase of the design effort for an amount not to exceed $2,315,451. This fee is reasonable and appropriate for a project of this size and complexity, and the amount is well within our approved capital project budget for this fiscal year. If this is approved, I anticipate coming back to this committee in approximately 11 months towards the end of the first phase of design to request approval for an amendment to complete the final phase of design work. And that's all for me. Thank you. I would be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I see the chair has his hand raised, so recognize the chair for questions.
Thank you. And thanks, Matt, for the presentation. Could we actually throw that back up real quick? And the slide, the second to last slide there where we saw the schematic of the proposal. So thank you for this. I'm wondering with the phase 2, does that replace the offset disposal?
Yes, it would. We would effectively, if we size it properly, it would effectively eliminate the disposal of the material and convert it into a valuable commodity such as biochar that would then be sold locally.
Okay, and then how is that transported? So at the end of phase 2, when we have that biochar, do we sell that on site, or do we work with like a third party to?
I would anticipate working with a third party to market the material. Biochar right now, the market, it's a pretty valuable commodity. It's going for about $400 per ton. And so the way it would work is there is a 10-fold reduction in the volume and weight of material. So if you have 10 tons of biosolids, by moving it through pyrolysis, you end up with 1 ton of biochar. And so there's a dramatic reduction in the volume and weight. And so instead of just it going bulk into trailers and hauling it out of the facility, they typically drop it into super sacks, which you may have seen are those sacks they use for various commodities. They're about 4 foot square, and they're typically loaded out of the facility onto flatbed trailers, and they're sold by the super sack, which is a super sack is typically equivalent to 1 ton of material.
And then the offsite disposal process that we have now, how is that managed? Where does it go to? Like, where's that offsite location?
We have a contract with North America's leading biosolids management group called Synagro. Synagro has a fleet of trucks, and they haul it out in bulk in long haul trailers, and it goes out of the facility and is trucked all the way to Kern County, where it is composted, and the finished compost is used for various applications, primarily agriculture in the San Joaquin Valley.
Matt, why don't you also talk about the percent that goes to the landfill, since we are splitting the site disposal?
To be clear, we do still have the ability to direct approximately 2,000 tons per year to the regen landfill. But that does represent a dramatic reduction from what we used to send to regen landfill in the past. And that was necessary to comply with the state's new requirements for reduction of organics disposal into landfills.
Okay, Awesome. So, and I'm assuming that this just overall process, and thank you for answering those questions, it is significantly more environmentally friendly. I mean, if we're providing those resources to local supply or folks that need those resources, that's reduced greenhouse gas emissions with the vehicles that are going all the way to Kern County. So, and then it just seems like an overall more efficient way of being able to manage our process. Is that fair to say?
Very fair to say there would be a dramatic reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from our operation. You'd have reduction of truck trips. Also with the biochar, one of the reasons concrete manufacturing is a hot market for this biochar is because they are marketing this concrete as carbon neutral or carbon negative concrete. They're using the biochar as a substitute for some of the sand or aggregate in the concrete mix to sequester carbon into the concrete. And there are various entities that with sustainability goals that want to offset the greenhouse gas emissions associated with whatever they're building. And so they're buying this carbon neutral concrete. So, which is it's a new market really.
And as Tammy just mentioned, the destruction of PFAS.
Yeah, and of course, I should have emphasized the primary reason that we want to apply high temperature pyrolysis is if you heat this material to a high enough temperature, you break down those fluorinated chemicals into what is essentially the mineral form of fluorine, which is not toxic like the fluorinated chemicals are. So we would essentially be eliminating the liabilities associated with PFAS in our agency's biosolids.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for this.
Director Moore.
So Senegro's product, after they compost the biosolids, we send them and sell it to the ag industry in the Central Valley. I assume it still contains PFAS.
That's correct.
So we might want to be careful about where we buy our produce from.
I don't know about that. I mean,
right. Sorry, technical question out of your area.
That science actually isn't out about whether PFAS is being taken up into crops. It's still that science is in progress.
Right. Let's see. Next question. I would certainly. So it was some 25 or 30 years ago when I visited the largest wastewater treatment plant outside Paris, serving Paris. And it was not long after we'd started providing recycled water for use on crops. When I told the deputy general manager about that, he took 3 steps back and was absolutely appalled along the lines of, you put urine on food crops? Really? I said, yeah. And he pointed out that they use biosolids, and their wastewater treatment plant was on a 2,000 or 3,000 acre site growing a bunch of crops. So they've been using biosolids on crops for a very, very long time. I would certainly urge under this contract, and of course, 25 years has passed and PFAS has come along and who knows. But I would certainly urge a contact with them to see what technologies they're using. Are they still putting biosolids on crops? What are their regulations? What are their technologies? I don't know if that'll go anywhere beneficial for us, but certainly I'd urge you to do that. And if you need a little help getting in contact with them, I'd be happy to help.
I think he's wanting me to go to Paris. Is that?
We would like to go to Paris, California, not Paris, France.
No, I will say we do intend to look at the state of the art with what the Europeans are doing, what's also happening in North America. We'll certainly be looking at that.
Good. I'm just going to add on to this because I was going to do this during staff reports, but it's salient. A few weeks ago, we had some professors and grad students from UC Berkeley come on down from their civil environmental program. Professor David Sedlak, one of them, has been studying PFAS for recycled water and in compost for about 15 years throughout the world. And just that nexus between biosolids to contamination, not just of produce, but going through meat and milk, because fodder crop can often be grown with the compost and or recycled water. So it's certainly something that throughout the world is being studied, but I don't think there's been a change necessarily in practice yet. It's those implications are we're seeing them. So
Right,
now it's
right.
what do we do?
We as human societies have a tendency to do these experiments with exotic chemicals without first understanding fully their implications in the environment. We do that sometimes. With respect to the biochar, you noted that when you put 10 tons of biosolids into that process, you only get 1 ton of biochar out, which means, laws of physics, there's 9 tons of mass going out of that process in some other form. What is that other form?
It's primarily water, all right? Because right now our still the feedstock that we're going to run into pyrolysis is going to be 50% water, 50% solid. So most of that reduction will be water. But there are carbonaceous compounds in the dewatered biosolids, which are actually going to be fuel for the pyrolysis process. So pyrolysis is the heating of organic matter in the absence of oxygen to create a charcoal-like compound. And so you need heat to do that, right? And so what's nice about modern high temperature pyrolysis processes is using the inherent energy in those solids, the calorific value of those solids, to create this compound called syngas. It's synthetic gas. And what we do is we capture the synthetic gas and they run it into an afterburner to bring it up to about 1900 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's when you break down the carbon fluorine bond of those fluorinated chemicals. And so you're left with essentially like a mineral ash, which is basically fluorine. But you do have some air emissions, and this is emerging technology, newish technology, but the studies suggest that the air emissions do not contain measurable concentrations of PFAS. It's not like you're trading one environmental problem for another. It's truly destroying the PFAS chemical and not just moving it into the air.
Is there a certain tonnage of CO or CO2 that comes out of that process?
There it is. Pyrolysis is done in the absence of oxygen, so there's not a lot of air that moves through the process. So there is not significant carbon monoxide emissions.
What about carbon dioxide?
Yes, there would be some carbon dioxide emissions.
I'm just getting at what is the emitted carbon load of the process. At some point, it would be nice to know what that is.
Sure. We can evaluate that. We can quantify that. We'll be, when we analyze these technologies as part of this design process, we'll be looking at the full sort of mass analysis of the carbon dioxide equivalents.
Right.
So a few years ago, I think it was Jose, another employer and myself went up to Silicon Valley Clean Water, where they actually had some pilot tests going on. I mean, they had probably 4 different pilot studies going on for different things, but one of them was Bioforce Tech. And if I'm not mistaken, we got some biochar like samples or something like that. And it was actually pretty remarkable. Just the volume decrease, the usable product, and so on.
Right.
And frankly, the simplicity.
Yep. Last question. I notice in the staff report and the contract documents, the proposal says that all their designs will come to us as PDFs. would there be some reason for us to get them in original format in case we needed to make some minor tweaks, say during construction to record things?
We will own the deliverable products of this engineering firm. So if we need to go to the native, for example, AutoCAD file, and we wanted to carry it forward, we would technically own that. And typically these engineering firms have no issue if you request that information.
Yeah, just make sure we have access to original AutoCAD because I've experienced how difficult it is to manipulate PDF files.
Yeah, as a general rule, all of the designs that we do for document management purposes, we manage it through PDF. But if we needed the original AutoCAD file, we'd have no problem getting that.
All right, thank you.
Vice Chair Rubino?
Thank you for that presentation, Matt. Very intriguing. So on the struvite fertilizer, is there a kill step in there for in terms of, you know, bacteria load?
Yeah, so the struvite fertilizer is totally inorganic. And what I mean by that is there are no carbonaceous pollutants in the struvite fertilizer. It is pure magnesium ammonium phosphate, and it's in a powder form, and there's a little bit of moisture in it. And it is such a harsh environment in that bulk form that testing has shown that there are no pathogens in that material. It's again purely organic, inorganic fertilizer.
And would you say, so it's the major makeup would be, you said phosphorus, nitrogen, phosphorus?
Yeah, the NPK value of
Yeah.
the struvite fertilizer is 6,29,0. So 6% nitrogen, 29% phosphorus, and there's no potassium in it.
And there's probably a bunch of minors in there.
A little bit of heavy metals, et cetera, but it's minor. And so typically this material is taken by a fertilizer supplier and they'll mix it with other products to sort of balance out, might add some potassium, for example, to create a more complete fertilizer product. But we envision sort of partnering with a third party to do that for us. Almost like we'll be the wholesale supplier of the phosphorus.
Okay, and then second question is on where the drying beds are now, that's going to be some pretty valuable real estate for you guys.
Yes.
Is it going to help us become more efficient in our processes, or?
Definitely. This is one of the reasons why we're doing the solids handling improvements ahead of the longer term project, which is the upgrade of the liquid treatment process. Because if we do this right, we will free up potentially more than 10 acres of land that could be utilized for future processes.
Or expansion.
And or swapped for different land. Certainly Regen has approached us wanting some of that land to expand their cell number 7. And what I've mentioned is like, well, we'll just do a swap. Maybe we take where part of Keith Day is right now or something like that. So it's freeing up the land first. Secondly, look at what are the opportunities as well as the master plan at the treatment plant to see what works best for us.
Build a larger pond.
Yeah.
All right. Director Stefani.
I got an easy one. So phase 1, 11 months, phase 2, how long?
Phase 2 of design will probably be another about 12 months. So we're gonna be in design for about 2 years. I anticipate coming back to you in about 2 years after we get clarity about what the design engineer's estimate is. One of the reasons I want to split design is because I want to get that first engineer's estimate of probable construction costs so we can start incorporating this into our budget, our next year's budget.
But you're right, Ron, there's lots of zeros on that one.
This is a big job. We're essentially proposing upgrading the whole solids side of the plant, a major aspect of the regional treatment plant.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. This is very interesting stuff that we're doing, and I'm glad that you guys are working so hard to keep it on the cutting edge of things. We'll take it out to the public briefly for 6F. See if anyone wishes to comment on this 6F. This is the, okay, seeing none, bring it back to the board for action.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Chair Williamson, second by Director Moore. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Yes?
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Monterey.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Well done. That was a pretty complex item, so appreciate all the work and really good report. Very clear. All right, we'll move on to item 6G. Consider recommending approval of an amendment extending the negotiation period in the 9/29/23 outfall capacity negotiation, cooperation, and funding agreement for 24 months. And is that Mr. Shudo?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Nick. So as you, I believe, know, Monterey One Water entered into an agreement with California American Water in September of 2023. And we have the nice simple name of Outfall Capacity Negotiation, Cooperation, and Funding Agreement. It is intended for a couple of different things. One is to provide a vehicle where they can get money to Monterey One Water so we can work on elements needed to discharge brine to our outfall. Of course, those include all the environmental work, design that we talked about last board meeting, as well as brine mixing structure. That agreement is due to expire in September of this year. So all this is before you is an amendment to extend this agreement for another 24 months to September of 2027. All terms and conditions remain the same in the agreement, and I guess that's about it. There's no fiscal impact to Monterey One Water ratepayers. Money is coming from CalAm to fund all of the expenditures as well as staff time for these projects. And I can answer any questions you may have.
All right, committee member questions.
Well, I
Go
might
ahead.
want to slightly. Is there a financial impact on a subset of our ratepayers?
There would be a financial impact on all CalAm ratepayers, which are a subset of our ratepayers, if they are allowed to get reimbursement for this from the CPUC.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and take it out to the public. Just check if anyone wants to comment on item 6G. This is the outfall capacity negotiation. All right, seeing none, bring it back to the board for further comment and discussion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Habino, second by Stefani. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Pacific Grove,
Yes.
Veranda,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Marina Coast.
Yes.
Monterey.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Shudo, and I'll recognize you for staff reports.
Thank you. I already gave mine, so I don't know if anyone else has theirs. Any?
Yeah, I just want to say that the management at RTP were basically holding down the fort with all the vacations that are occurring. And then we had a picnic this last Saturday, and I'd like to thank Daryl and the team for doing the barbecue, and it was a fairly good turnout. So thanks for all the people participating there. And then I'm going to defer to Jose to give you an update on operations.
All right.
Good afternoon, committee members. Jose Guzan, Operations Manager. Just provide a quick update on how things are going operations-wise throughout our various facilities. Starting with the RTP, operations continues to work closely with Matt's team with engineering to keep the energy digester improvement project as well as the food receiving station project moving forward, providing technical support on, providing data on any RFIs that we could help out with and coordinating with vendors, contractors. We are treating about an average of 19.5 MGD through the month of June so far. Another significant event, Olivia led the lab team through an ELAP inspection, followed by an internal audit. It's kind of par for the course where you have to justify your job when you come out and do these inspections and visits. So they did have, I believe, 21 deficiencies as they're defined that we need to address, several low-hanging fruit. The key point is there are no repeat deficiencies. These are new findings because those are the ones that get you in trouble when they come and visit and it's like, well, we pointed it out and you're still doing it. So that was a good highlight that, there was a reduction from 31 in the last go around to 21. So we are improving. As far as our recycle water projects, Source Waters, Blanco is still providing about 2 MGD a day pretty consistently. SVRP, we are treating about almost 14 MGD through the month of June so far, and SRDF is providing 18.2 to go to distribution. And we are injecting about 3.7, despite the process interruptions as part of expansion, the team's continuing to, maximize production when the facility is running. We will have a little dip this week because we're doing some CIPs, the clean in place for the ROs. So it's essentially an RO being down the majority of the day for about almost 12 hours. But we try to make it up when we can. Other than that, in a nutshell, that's how operations are going. Everything's been going really well.
Thank you very much, Director Moore.
Just a quick question about the inspections. You said they found 21 new things. Is the finding of new things a consequence of changes we've made to technology infrastructure in the intervening time between the last inspection? Or did they just send different people who were seeing different things?
Right, different people seeing different things. And then Olivia can chime in if I misspeak here, but the adoption of the TNI regulations is also fairly new to us. You're gonna have to.
Yeah, so TNI stands for the NELAC Institute. ELAP adopted those sets of regulations in January 1st of 2024.
Okay. So some new regs
Right.
that we have to comply with.
Yes.
I'm sure that came with a check, right? Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other
Thank you very much,
questions?
Mr. Guzman.
Right.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Who's anyone else from staff wishing to make a report? All right. Well, committee member reports. Would anybody on the committee like to make a report today? Dr. Moore?
So 2 nights ago, we had the quarterly meeting of the Special Districts Association, Monterey County. Very interesting guest speaker, George Fuentes from the Central Coast Cal Fire Chief. But in the process of that discussion, I happened to mention the program at the Naval Postgraduate School that is put together by what is sometimes called CHIDS, CHDS, Center for Homeland Defense and Security, which, among other things, is a master's degree program that's one of these hybrid learning things. You do some classes probably in the evenings on Zoom for, I think it's 8 or 9 weeks, and then you come to NPS once a quarter for a week for intensive classes. I think the program's a 2-year program. The audience it addresses probably primarily is law enforcement across the United States, but also every kind of emergency responder you can think about, firefighters, fire chiefs. I've seen the fire chief for Seattle sitting on campus at one point or another. But we've actually had a former board member who's a graduate of that program. The reason I mention this is when I mentioned it, and this discussion occurred in the Special Districts Association meeting, I got the sense that there were a lot of folks in the room unaware of the program. And I'm mentioning it here because there's the possibility that on staff here, you have someone who doesn't have a master's degree, would be interested in a master's degree, might benefit from going through a program like that if they could get accepted to it. There was one local fire chief who said he had an employee who'd gone through the program, and his comment was, well, they don't like to take locals. I don't know if that's completely true. I could understand, since they are funded by DHS, that they want to make sure they don't just all take local folks. They are serving nationally. But I just wanted to raise the awareness of that to you all. They have a website that will give you far more accurate details than I've just expressed in my board member comment. But feel free to take a look at it. And if there's somebody who could benefit from that, I think we might qualify in terms of providing a very, very essential service to a large section of population, and that service would qualify for Homeland Security. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee member reports? All right, seeing none, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.